Good morning. It's Friday, y'all. The 24th of March. You know what Friday is? It's Friday. I'm off. I'm off tomorrow. Have some plans tomorrow. We'll see how the plans pan out. But yeah, I do have some plans tomorrow. But possibly going up to hear Sam Gipp preach. Never met him before. Chances are I won't be able to meet him tomorrow anyway, because there's going to be lots of other preachers there, and I'm just a little guy on a totem pole of preachers. So, but tonight going to a little church over in Forest, Ohio. Hear Brother Ralph Easterling preach. Brother Ralph's a good guy. Really like him. He has a ministry called the Bible Mobile. He has a bookmobile that he purchased from the Findlay Public Library a couple years back. Purchased it and made it into a Bible mobile, selling scriptures, Christian book or Bible believing Christian books, things like that, Bibles, all kinds of stuff on there. Good old dude, and he's preaching a little revival in Forest, Ohio. I'm gonna probably meander over there, and let the Lord talk to me. Because let me tell you, we're talking about the fruits of the Spirit, right? That's what we're talking about, the fruits of the Spirit. Because over there in Philippians, in our daily devotion, we've been looking at being filled with fruits. So I figured, we should talk about the fruits of the Spirit. We should be filled with the fruits of righteousness. Let's just read it. I know we've read it dozens of times over the last couple of weeks. But it's important for us Christians to really grasp a hold of that, especially dealing with what we deal with out here. Philippians 1, I'll just read the one verse. I read all of them. Being filled with the fruits of righteousness, which are by Jesus Christ under the glory and praise of God. So, we talked about the other fruits being love, joy, peace. Yesterday, we talked about long suffering. Long suffering is the ability to deal with a situation for a long time. And I said that long suffering goes along with that other P word, and that other P word that I don't like. It's called patience. I'll be honest, I got a lot of patience. It's very hard for me. It's one of my thorns in my flesh is lack of that P word a lot of times. So yesterday, I dealt with a situation towards the end of my workday. The old man would have probably punched the person in the face. That's the old man. But the new man renewed day by day, remembers that I have God living inside of me. And remember that, hey, you talked about long suffering today, buddy. How are you going to do it? And so, I was talking to my pastor about it in our daily morning. I was I'm tired. I'm very tired. Very, very tired. I didn't get to sleep till after midnight last night. I was up at close to 6. So I am very tired. And so I called him back. I was like, hey, here's the irony of the whole situation. Daily devotion, fruits of the Spirit, long suffering. And he just busted up laughing. Yeah. I said, long suffering goes along with peace. He goes, long suffering is, or not peace, it's patience. He goes, long suffering is extreme patience. I'm like, yeah, it is. So, again, the old me would have handled that situation I dealt with at the end of my workday a lot differently. It would have. I would have. That was the old me. But the new me handles it and looks at things differently because God's inside of me. And whatever I see, hear, think, do, that's God inside of me doing those same things. And so, got to keep these things in remembrance. Got to remember these things, y'all. You got to remember these things because God is living inside of each and every one of us. Because He's living in each and every one of us, He wants the good things about Him to come out. And so we are looking at the fruits of the Spirit, the first 3, love, joy, peace. Those things are internal. They're inward. The rest of the ones we're talking about yesterday, today, and then Monday, those are external. It's an outward manifestation of the Holy Spirit of God living inside of you. The first one's long suffering. God has sure put up with a lot of stuff from us. He sure has. Sure put up with a lot. So he's been very long suffering with us. And he's been very long suffering with the world. In fact, he's just kind of been sitting on his throne up there, watching everything unfold, just like he said it was going to unfold. But there's going to come a time when he wakes up, not that he's asleep. I saw a verse in Psalm today. I was like, wow. Well, the writer said, when will you awake, Lord? Talking about when he's going to take control. So God's been very long suffering for the last 2,000 years. If you read the stoning of Stephen, it said, Stephen said, behold, I see the heavens open and the Son of Man standing at the right hand of God. Well, the Lord's about to get ready and do something when he stood up. Because the next time he stands up in the Bible is to start the Great Tribulation. That's the next time he stands up. So it'd be good to keep that in remembrance, because he's going to stand up one of these days. He's going to call us up out of here and say, come on up, kids. I'm about to do something. I'm fixing to do something. I'm about to do something big. But he has been very long suffering with us and with this world for 2,000 years. And he's an example. Look what he went through on the cross. Very long suffering on the cross. The very people he was dying for were the ones that hung him there and had him beaten and killed. But he took it. He didn't complain about it. That being said, today, what we're going to talk about. But the fruit of the Spirit, Galatians 5:22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, inward, long-suffering, outward, gentleness. Y'all, gentleness is a fruit of the Spirit. And it is a necessary fruit of the Spirit when we're dealing with people. As a preacher, I deal with people of all kinds of backgrounds and beliefs a lot of times. And when they defend their beliefs or non-beliefs, sometimes it gets pretty ugly. And the old man in me would like to get real ugly with them. And I know some preachers will get real ugly with them back. And they'll get in the flesh back with that person. And that's a bad thing to be. Or you, as just an ordinary Christian, dealing with things around you, your old nature would like to reel her up its ugly head and have at it. But the fruit of the Spirit is gentleness. Long suffering is extreme patience. Gentleness is in a situation, you got to be gentle in how we handle things and people. But you can be gentle and have grace, but have a little bit of salt with it. Let your speech be with grace seasoned with salt. Salt tastes good. It also stings on a burned wound or an open wound. You pour salt or get salt on a cut. Like I get cuts on my fingers, like right there, they'll split open. When I get them and I get salt in them, whoo, they burn bad. Not good. Not in a good way. They burn bad. So when that happens, stings. Peroxide, it'll sting a little bit when you pour it on a wound. Alcohol, woo doggy, does it ever sting? Talk about stinging. But you can sting a little bit with somebody and still be gentle when you do it. That's what I'm trying to get at. You can still do these things. It's all right. Remember, you've got the very living, loving God inside of you. He does get angry. He does lay the hammer down sometimes. He does. There's an old Chick tract called Somebody Angry. Read that. It's talking about every time we've messed with Israel as a nation. Every time we have, God's been a little rough on us. Do research about Hurricane Katrina and Israel and President George W. Bush. Read about that one. That's in that little book. 9/11. Read about that one. It's in that little book. We mess with God's people. Israel's still God's people. And sometimes he's not going to be gentle. And he is not going to be long suffering. But he's still God. Overall, he is gentle. Overall, he is long suffering. Overall, he's loving. But there's a time when he says enough is enough. And for Christians, we can't be like God and go all scorched earth. Like burn everybody down. We can't do that. That's God's job. I was talking to a friend of mine, my old supervisor, about that situation last night. And man, I said, I got to remember who I am and who is in me. And I also said, you know what? I also need to remember that God will take care of this. God may deal with that person. Because what he didn't realize is I'm actually a preacher, I'm a man of God. And you're not supposed to mess with the Lord's anointed. So I just turned it over to God. And be long-suffering and gentle about it. A couple verses will be done. 2 Timothy chapter 2. We'll talk about gentleness, the fruit of the Spirit. 2 Timothy chapter 2. Over here in 2 Timothy chapter 2, we'll look at verse 24. Now, this is going to be for preachers, right? Timothy's written to preachers. Sometimes preachers watch this, and we need to be reminded. 2 Timothy verse 2, or chapter 2, verse 24. And the servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle to all men, apt to teach, patient, and meekness, instructing those that oppose themselves, if God peradventure will give them repentance to the acknowledging of the truth, and that they may recover themselves out of the snare of the devil, who are taken captive by him at his will. Servants, this applies to y'all too. I mean, this is aimed at preachers, hands down. But it does apply to everybody. When dealing with somebody out there, got to be understanding. We got to be gentle. Gentleness. Again, and the servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle to all men, apt to teach, patient, and meekness. That's a fruit of the Spirit, by the way, meekness. Meekness is being humble. I don't want to go too far into it. But that is a fruit of the Spirit, something we're going to look at next week. One more verse, James 3:17. Over here in the book of James. 2 Peter, Titus, Philemon, Hebrews, James. James chapter 3, verse 17. James 3, verse 17. But the wisdom that is from above is pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. See that? Brought up fruits. When we're seeking wisdom from above, we're seeking it from God. Look what it says. But the wisdom that is from the above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated. Easy to handle, easy to give out. Y'all, those times that we want to just lash out because we've had enough, Look at the last 2,000 years, how God has been dealing with our stupid selves as individuals and as a world. And he sure has been long-suffering and overall gentle, even though he stings us a little bit here and there. Something we need to keep in remembrance today. Gentleness and dealing with situations. There's some proverbs about that. A soft answer turneth away wrath. That's being gentle. Soft is being gentle. And it ain't easy to be that way. Just remember whose you are. And as you go out this weekend, really remember whose you are. When you go out in this filthy, stupid world, dealing with folks, dealing with people. I'll end it the way I end it a lot of times each week. It's Friday. In other words, it's Friday because I'm off tomorrow. If you're working tomorrow, I'm very sorry. I really am. I've been there. Off tomorrow. Remember these things we talked about this week. And remember, what will you do with Jesus, which is called Christ? Have a good weekend.